This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Audible. Coming up, we're huge fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender, so we couldn't be more excited for The Legend of Korra.
Well, it's that time again. We are back for TV and very excited. As anybody who's been a fan of the Totally Rad Show knows, there was a TV show, an animated series on Nickelodeon called Avatar: The Last Airbender, which we adored. So much so,
TV Ratty.
It was the very first TV Ratty. Surprised that it didn't win Sweep It every year, but I think we probably told ourselves it can't be Last Airbender.
It went to Hall of Fame.
It went to Hall of Fame. It was retired. We retired the jersey of title. And we are finally getting the sequel, the much anticipated sequel, The Legend of Korra. The Legend of Korra, we flash forward...
2 generations.
Two full generations, which is very interesting. The Avatar Aang, the Avatar that we followed his rise in Avatar: The Last Airbender, has had an amazing reign, and I think it's his son that is now the... or was the Avatar the?
No, he was never the Avatar. He was just a great airbender
right.
teacher.
The first, this is kind of spoilery, but if you're watching this, whatever. But what? The first series,
yes,
first series, right? Mm-hmm. It's all like feudal Asia,
right?
Stylistically or whatever. It's like the Wild West, you know. And now it's set in the Republic City. And now there's a city, and it's basically like 1930s,
20s, 30s,
30s America. Well, there's cars, so like there's 20s America, or whatever. But it's now
very kind of New York City.
So now instead of like ancient monks, faith-based, you know, when there was no laws or it's you know, they were guided by religion or whatever. Now, because this is all to say that guy, the Avatar's son is like, I believe, but he's like not a president, but he's a lawmaker in a city as opposed to the Avatar, which was a...
Right, but the Avatar doesn't get passed down to a son.
No, right, no.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like the Buddha.
Yeah.
Because there is another Avatar.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so Avatar: The Legend of Korra is starting to air this Saturday, April 14th, and then will be every Saturday on Nickelodeon. So we saw the first 2 episodes.
Which were free on iTunes.
Free on iTunes, free on Xbox Live. I watched it on the Xbox.
I watched mine on my new iPad. The first time I'd ever watched something HD on my new iPad.
Yeah, mind-blowing.
Pretty.
Yeah, I love
very
it.
pretty.
Dan Trachtenberg.
Watch mine on my 1080p Apple TV.
Dan Trachtenberg. Dan Trachtenberg.
You have an Apple TV already? The new 1080p Apple TVs?
Dan Trachtenberg. What did you think of The Legend of Korra?
I thought it was genius. I think this is how you do
anything.
Sequels. I mean, it's not even sequels. Like just every step was a master stroke. Like easily could have been Aang's son now has to, or the next Avatar, but Aang is now an old man and whatever, or Aang's still around. I mean, they could have done a number of things that are very traditional and standard and acceptable and good sometimes as sequels. This is like how you do it. It honors every sentiment and emotion and reason that we watched the original without repeating the same stuff. Now the Avatar is completely different, right? It's like, as instead of being the everything's a joke, not taking it seriously, Airbender, like funny, goofy, but still a good moral compass. Now it's like, doesn't have a great moral compass, but is very skilled and hard and whatever. In Korra, female, not male, also.
Oh, twist!
But
also
spoiler alert.
Not a 10-year-old.
Not a 10-year-old, the brash teenager.
Which is such a tonal shift.
Yeah,
to the show.
Definitely.
And like I was saying before, the genius of now it's in a city, not in the rural countryside. But geniusly, the pilot starts out in that countryside. So when we get to see him, like, this is what the show is now, and it's a little steampunk touches, a little bit like everything metal benders, and there's so much great science fiction in it, and the idea of like an open world Assassin's Creed, you know, like Avatar game would be so fucking rad. And excuse my French.
Yeah, it's a kid's show.
Good show.
Not this show.
The
but
game,
the show we're reviewing.
I was very excited about pro bending, and you know that it could be like Quidditch or whatever.
Better than Quidditch. Way better.
Oh, I was
than
gonna say
Quidditch.
the opposite.
Oh,
I did not like the game design. It was a little bit. It's just dodgeball. Like I was excited to see. Oh my god, is it gonna this, that, or
I'm
whatever?
sorry, it's fire dodgeball
and with
water
dodgeball, and it
dodgeball.
just made a lot of sense.
Anyway, so you.
But like I was like, oh my god, we're gonna get a pro bending video game. And I was like, it would be a pretty lame video game.
So would Quidditch.
So what?
I disagree.
So what did you think? I mean, overall, it sounds like you loved it.
Yeah, I said it's genius masterstroke.
All right,
Terrible show.
I guess I heard a little bit
Stop
of that.
dissembling, Dan.
So what did you think?
Before I start, it bears repeating, if you are a new viewer of the show, or even a viewer that started watching in the last 4 years, it bears repeating how much we all love Avatar The Last Airbender. And it even more bears repeating because of how crappy the M. Night Shyamalan movie was, and how damaged the property was, even in my own mind, because that's the most recent exposure I had to the series. I was it had receded a little bit in my heart because I just had that stank on it of the really crappy film version. But this series, the original series, if you haven't seen it, is so spectacularly good. And I was reminded of how great these guys are at making, really, I think, will stand up as being one of the great fantasy sagas ever put out in any media. It is that rich in history, in lore, in how people relate to each other, in the mechanics and rules of the magic in the world. All of that stuff holds together so well that, while we all agree it is a kids' show, it is one of the best adult fantasy stories you will ever experience. And now, as I will echo some of the things Dan said, now that we are in a completely new era, which I didn't expect, and there's a new tone for everything, and we're meeting some of the old people we love, but they're much older now. That is so magical and special, and how bold and daring they were with pushing the universe forward. I can't help but think that everybody that has great IP should take a lesson from this, because, you know, Star Wars could bear a little of this. You know, we don't have to have retreads of everything we already love. You can be new. You can push this fiction forward in really exciting ways, and yet it still has the feeling that the first series did so well, which was mixing badass, like 2 fights in every episode, 2 amazing action sequences in every episode, with wacky, silly pratfalls and humor that works for kids, and sound effects of a guy going adi adi adi. You know, like that doesn't undermine the awesomeness.
noodle cart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of stuff in these first 2 episodes of like the dad getting angry and going, you know, it's like, which in a lesser show could really come off as feeling like, oh, okay, here we go. Yeah. But here, it all works together, and it's so beautifully animated and beautifully designed. Yeah. Can we already name it the Ratty for 2012?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And by the way, you get when you see the older versions of old Katara, you get an immediate gut emotion.
Yeah, you know her whole journey.
And you're like, oh my god, it's already just seeing a photo of that would have gotten an emotional. I mean, that's so emotional. We don't get that in stories. You know, we don't get that.
Well, it's very interesting because I watched this with Heather. And Heather, my fiance, had not seen any of the previous Avatar
same
stuff.
situation.
Yeah. And
I also watched it with Heather.
Yeah. No, she was so excited. She was like, I'm going to go over to Jeff's because I know he on his Twitter, he said he was going to watch it, so I'm going to go over there. But it was amazing because it is such a balance. It's such a trick to be able to create something that's new, that to a person who has no idea who Toph is, who Aang is, who Katara is, no idea, still, it's not like half the stuff goes over her head, but there are lines, like little lines, like when, you know, we see Katara and you don't know it's her. She's just old woman, and then one line of, well, thanks, you know, great grand Katara. You know what I mean? Like it,
And you're like, oh yeah, you got the
hits,
thing.
yeah, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. But whereas that scene is already perfect for the show that it is being made, that Heather is like, wow, that was an awesome scene, and yet you're like, there was even this layer that you didn't even get. But it's amazing, and it does go. It reminds you how great the choreography is of the fights, the choreography of what each of the bending arts is and how they interact. Not only that, the kids, the 3 kids that are the young kids, adore the little crazy monkey kids.
Yeah, but like
hysterical.
They're like a cute little kid.
I know. It's like,
Is it bad if I say Korra's hot?
no, she's hot.
Right, yeah. She's no Chitara, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, come on. Who can be? But also, you know, they're really great with bringing in the things that you love without it making it feel like, oh, that's the this of this series. You know what I mean? Like, you could say that the polar bear dog is the Appa of this season.
But I think there still might be an up.
There is, and that's the thing. There might be. Everybody see Appa, but it doesn't feel like that's her Appa.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it feels like that's this whole other thing, and I love that. Polar bear dog.
You're so right. They didn't plug in the roles to give, I have no idea where the show is going, because as you guys were saying, it feels like we're going to live in this city for a while, and so much of the first series was this travel, this road show of going from place to place, and I don't know if we're even going to do that.
Well, but the crazy thing is, if you look, it says book 1, Air.
Yeah.
So even though she has already mastered these 3 other arts, I don't know how that's going to go, because that was the thing with Avatar.
I know, that was what's so cool, is like the first thing the very first 5 seconds of the show is, I'm already a badass.
Yeah, and you're like,
oh, the entire series last time was getting to be a badass.
I wonder if it's gonna be like a video game where at the end of she gets
loses her
air
powers?
and then she loses.
No,
and then she's
God, I don't even know. This
so
is
great.
television, and it's just great TV. And one of the
great
things
animation.
that Heather,
You said that, right?
Amazing animation, amazing choreography. But the other thing is, Heather was like,
animation.
when she was watching it, she was like, these characters are so defined and so specific. Within watching 47 minutes, you have favorite characters. You know, oh God, that sounds so this character, or oh, I know how that character is going to react in this situation. And it's 47 minutes. That is hard to do in a feature.
Also in 47 minutes is the arc of any sports film without any missing beats, every moment completely earned.
That was only, by the way, 22.
Wasn't and that in the
that was only the second episode.
In 22 minutes, you get a complete sports movie arc.
Yeah. And all this other side story stuff going on. It's a great television series. If you are an adult that doesn't have children and you're shying away from this because it's a Nickelodeon show, don't. Do yourself a favor, watch it. You know what? It may not connect with you because you're an idiot. And I apologize if that's you, but if you're not an idiot, it'll connect with you. So just watch it.
But go back
every Saturday.
I will say I revisited a while ago. Revisited again The Last Airbender, the first series, and the first few episodes are pretty childlike.
I think they had to find
It took a little bit, and always remember these guys wrote on Family Guy and Futurama before Avatar. So there's a lot of adult humor, but it takes a little bit if you're going to go back and watch
so
Last Airbender.
It's great.
I'm so glad
every Saturday.
And they could literally keep just going forward in time, and this universe could get so rich and so dense and so big.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Amazing. Check it out. Legend of Korra, Nickelodeon. All right, everybody, be sure to stick around. We're going to be showing you some outtakes from this week's of taping. But first, we want to thank our sponsors, Jeff Cannata.
Audible.com, one of my favorite sponsors to talk about. Why? Because I love books. I love books. I love reading, and I love getting all these great stories that can only happen in books. A lot of people are digging on the Game of Thrones TV show right now. I happen to love those books, and I highly recommend, if you are loving the show, you should be listening to the books. They're going to add so much information and extra stuff on the periphery that you'll really love. Audible has that book as well as 99,999 other titles. Because they have over 100,000 to choose from, and you can put it right on your iPod or MP3 player, make it easy for you to listen anytime, anywhere. You can be doing other stuff and still be reading, which is what I like most about it. And we'll hook you up with a free audiobook. audiblepodcast.com/totallyrad will get you a free audiobook. Try A Clash of Kings, which is the current season of the Game of Thrones TV series. Couldn't recommend it higher. Roy Dotrice, one of the best audiobook readers. And I just heard he hadn't read the fourth book in the series, which is called A Feast for Crows. And I guess they went back and had him do that, so that now he has read all of the books, even Dance with Dragons, the newest one. So he's great. And he plays Grandmaster Pycelle in the TV show.
Oh,
so you've seen him if you... He's the Grand Maester. He hangs out at King's Landing, and he's the dawdling old guy in the first series who like stood up and when nobody was around and was bigger.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Grand Maester Pycelle.
Cool. All right, people. Have a good weekend.
Do it! That's all I want to say. That's all.
All I want to say, I want to zoom, zoom, zing, and a bing bong.
Just shake your rump.
Yes.
All right.
You got it. Flew off. It's on your shirt now. Can't see it, but it's right here.
All right.
Oh God, it's all over. You just got it all over me.
Oh dear.
Here we go.
Ready?
Ready.
Ready.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Hang on. Yeah.
Yeah, get the sleeves up. Let's do
come
this.
on, man.
Those sleeves up.
Gotta go to work.
I'm totally put my
Gotta work.
sleeves.
One. You can do one.
Hey man, you never know.
The
The year,
pants.
it's past the year 2000.
Crazy shit.
Any fashion goes.
Crazy. Any fashion goes.
That was the thing. New millennium, all bets are off.
Yeah.
You guys saw Back to the Future, right? I know you didn't, but
I've seen some of it. I've heard tell.
Which, by the way, not in our top 10, not in our top 20.
right.
We gotta work. We gotta
Yeah.
hit.
work.
You gotta spend more
Gotta
than a few
Yeah.
minutes in there.
Today's Twitter question comes to us from @Nikki Sandon. Wait, what?
Designer board games of the like that we cover on the show. I'm gonna be. God, I can't speak. Can't talk English.
Try it in French. Let's just see how it goes.
Where? Blorf! Addy, 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 addy.